Welcome to Womenpreneur Asia. And my name is Krista Gun. I'm based in Penang, Malaysia. But Hawaii is where this started. Yes, Hawaii, that magical paradise that everyone dreams of going to. I had a dream too, but if it were not for the scholarship that I had won from the East-West Center in Honolulu, Hawaii, this podcast would not have seen the light of day. Long story short, I had applied for the program and was fortunate to be selected as a scholarship recipient. The program featured intensive learning and field trips for women innovators and entrepreneurs from Asia-Pacific countries. Part of the program application asked for a specific project that I would embark on once I came home. I instantly knew I had to propose this podcast as my project. I wanted to start a podcast sometime in 2016, and I even told a friend called Ziyi about it that year. We both enjoyed listening and learning from podcasts, and she had recommended to me some interesting ones too. She was excited for me when I said I was thinking of starting one, and each time we emailed, she would remind me that she was waiting to hear my podcast. I was both embarrassed and pressured. I kept procrastinating. I had my business and clients to focus on. I had my community work. I had my Women Entrepreneurs organization to work on. I was on various boards. Well, it turned out I had a bunch of excuses. Hawaii and the East-West Center kicked my butt. In Hawaii, each of us had to present our project, so weeks before I boarded the plane for the long flight from Penang to Honolulu, I was already mapping out my podcast. There's nothing like a presentation and a deadline to get me going. It gave me the perfect opportunity to really think long and hard about what I intended to do with my podcast. It's one thing to say that I'm starting a podcast, but what exactly would it be? What should I focus on? Who are my target listeners? How the heck would I even get this off the ground? Granted, I know a thing or two about women entrepreneurs as I co-founded a women entrepreneur organization, and I co-own a business that deals with helping entrepreneurs grow online. And I loved being inspired by other women's stories, especially in starting, sustaining, and growing their businesses. I've loved the women-led podcasts that I've listened to, from Amy Porterfield's Online Marketing Made Easy to Ellie Brown's Glambition Radio. I appreciate the mentoring lessons from Denise Ristori's Mentoring Moments podcast. And here I'd like to give a big shout out to Ziyi who had recommended this podcast to me. But something was missing, at least for me. I wanted to hear Asian women entrepreneur stories precisely because I knew so many women in business. While I wouldn't say that entrepreneurship is vastly different, culture, beliefs, upbringing, and community play a role in how Asian women embrace entrepreneurship. I have seen how my friends juggled being wives, mothers, daughters, and daughters-in-law while running their businesses. I wanted to hear the real, gritty stories of Asian women in business, the good and the crazy. Not just the wonderful, sugary, sweet tales that everyone reads about in the media, but the stories of madness and badness that women undergo. What kinds of lessons did they learn? Who was their inspiration? What books did they read? How did they get to where they were? What could they impart to other women aiming for the same goal? What beliefs or habits did they form? How did they market their products in the early days? And what drives them? I came from a world that didn't prepare me for entrepreneurship. Everything I now know came to me as lessons and experiences, from books, from people, and from podcasts. What if I had such a podcast to listen to back when I was a newbie in business? How much quicker would I have learned the ropes of business? When I presented my podcast project in Hawaii, our program coordinator Liz said that my scope was just too narrow. She said I should look beyond Malaysia. The rest of my Asia-Pacific friends in the program agreed. That's why I came to widen my scope to include Asia, hence the name of this podcast, Womenpreneur Asia. I was incredibly inspired by Jill Tokuda, who spoke during our welcome reception at the Kapiolani Community College in Honolulu. Jill is a former U.S. State Senator and Executive Director of the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center. And she said, as women leaders, business leaders, change agents, and builders of our community and strongholds for our families, you got to be a little bit audacious. You got to have courage, character, charisma, and everything else, and just be able to get out there and jump, to try. Jill also referenced Patsy Mink, whom she says gave her the audacity to even try. Mink was the first non-white woman and the first Asian American woman elected to Congress. Jill continued by saying, "Be bold, be audacious, have courage. Know that everything that you do at the end would inspire many and anger some, and you should never be ashamed of the fact. You give me hope, you give me courage. As you sit and support each other and raise other women up around you, in your communities and right here in Hawaii, make sure you do it in the most audacious, amazing female way possible." I was moved by Jill's empowering speech. I want this podcast to be audacious. And I'm also nervous. I know this is a wholly different experience for me. It's something totally new and I have no idea how it will pan out. I hope you'll come along with me as we get inside the heads of the womenpreneurs in Asia. What can you do with more audacity, inspiration, and ideas? If you're already in business, great. I hope this podcast gives you more ideas and strategies of what our Asian sisters are doing in their own countries and businesses. If you intend to start a business, this is also the podcast that I hope you'll listen to. I also hope that you reach out and connect with the women that most resonates with you, as I've seen how mutually advantageous it can be for everyone. Connections and alliances formed can help us all go further. Look no further than the Hawaii program that I took part in. Being part of the life-changing program has given me the courage and yes, the audacity to do this. When I was in Hawaii, part of the program was matching us with mentors who could help us with our proposed projects. I was fortunate to be matched with Hawaii Public Radio's Dr. Kathleen Kozak, where she let me watch her tape her radio show one evening. I was fascinated with the ease at which she spoke. After the show, not only did she take me out for burgers, she also gave me invaluable tips. I was incredibly inspired by her, so a big thank you and mahalo, Dr. Kozak. So this is what I mean. We all need inspiration, a kick in the butt, advice, life-changing moments, triggers, support, encouragement, a push, a nudge, someone to believe in us. We also need women who are like us to share stories that we can identify with. But not all of us can get up close and personal with a mentor like Dr. Kozak. But at least we can inch one step closer and learn from women who have been there and are still doing it. As a person who works in digital, I've always loved podcasting for its scale and reach. And I also hope that you will share this with friends who are recommending me to other Asian women in business that I could feature in my podcast. Check out womenpreneurasia.com or email me, Krista@redboxstudio.com, with suggestions, and I look forward to unraveling some of the best and inspiring stories from our entrepreneurial sisters across Malaysia, Southeast Asia, and Asia. My podcast project has benefited from the generous input offered by Liz Dorn and Sarah Lam of the East West Center, as well as my audacious, fabulous Asia Pacific sisters in the Hawaii program. I would like to say a big thank you to Ollie Body of New Zealand, Keiko Chida of Japan, Tipi Kojin of Hawaii, Radha Mohan Durba of India, Fiona Ai of Samoa, Shihoko Fujiwara of Japan, Droma Gadu of China, Jeruza Jayachandran of Sri Lanka, Marika Jaruda of Philippines, Tawa Janet Koze of Samoa, Emma Newland of Fiji, Hatu Nguyen of Vietnam, Nurhani Pakasum of the Philippines, Christina Sablan from the Northern Mariana Islands, and Adi Mariana Waka of Fiji. Remember, check out womenpreneurasia.com and subscribe to the podcast, and I'll see you in my next episode.